McGrady.com. Lauren Shehadi, Jamey Eisenberg, Tony Parker not expected back until mid-December, but he is playing Michael Redd, Jason Richardson. Do they need time before you get him back in your lineup?
I don't think so, Lauren, because you see here the numbers that they put up in their first game back. Jason Richardson also had 22 points in his second game. Tony Parker, a pair of 15.7 assist performances, and then Michael Redd back over the 20-point mark. So I think you look at these three guys, get them in your starting lineups for scoring period 6, because we know that they're going to put up good numbers going forward, especially Tony Parker and the Spurs, as we talked about in Start 'em and Sit 'em last week. They have a great matchup this week, with a game against Denver and Golden State as part of their 3-game schedule. So I think you see these guys going forward. They're going to be fantastic. It's great to see them back, especially Parker, earlier than expected.
Okay, those guys are back on the court, but T-Mac, his status still very fragile, dealing with that knee injury. What do you do with him?
Yeah, T-Mac just one of a number of guards that are missing this week. Hopefully some of these guys, especially Eric Gordon, expected to be back on the court for this week. But T-Mac going to see Dr. James Andrews on Monday. We'll find out what's going to happen with him. He's already missed 3 games. We know he's dealing with the knee problem. He was expected to be shut down for the season, but he's played through it up until the recent 3-game stretch. The Rockets only have 2 games this week, so you're going to keep him reserved regardless, because it doesn't look like he's going to play. This is something that we could anticipate coming into the year, because as we know, T-Mac injury prone. So hopefully it's not season ending. Hopefully he's able to get back on the court for you. Hope maybe sometime next week. But for now, keep him reserved, and hopefully the news is good, because this is doesn't sound good. Anytime an athlete goes to Dr. James Andrews, that's typically not a good sign.
Well, it's not a good thing, not a good sign for Andre Kirilenko to have another ankle injury, because he's been dealing with that for a while. What do we do with him?
Yeah, Kirilenko is going to be day-to-day. I expect him to play at some point, but the safe option, obviously, is to keep him reserved. Carlos Boozer, though, his teammate, dealing with this quad problem, he's going to be out probably at least another week. He says he may try and give it a go in week 6, but I think he's probably going to miss. Carlos Boozer, another guy, prior to last year, injury-prone, as we know. So I think you look at Carlos Boozer, hopefully he comes through this. He's a guy playing for a contract at this point, so we want to see him back on the court, giving you the type of fantasy production that you can expect. But again, as we'll say all along, keep him reserved unless you don't have a better option, but the safe play is to just keep him on your bench.
Okay, more injury woes. I'm talking about Chris Kaman dealing with a foot injury, and he's played with it, and he's played pretty well, but he's finally succumbing to the pain.
Yeah, I think it's a good sign that they're going to keep him reserved, because you're talking about a Clippers team that can afford to put Chris Kaman on the bench when you have a guy like Marcus Camby and now Zach Randolph. Randolph in his first game, 27 points, double digits in rebounds, got back to the type of production that we expect from him. So it's going to give him the opportunity to work his way into the flow. So you look at those 2 replacement guys. Same thing with the Jazz with Carlos Boozer out. Paul Millsap steps up for Boozer and plays well. So I think you look at the replacement guys stepping in. Millsap's a guy you could add off the waiver wire, but Zach Randolph, if you have him, you were a little hesitant about what to do. Same thing with Marcus Camby. Camby had a couple double-doubles with Chris Kaman out also. So these 2 guys stepping up, playing well for the Clippers and playing well for fantasy owners.
Jamey, injuries plaguing those guys, but for Devin Harris, not much plaguing him at all. He dropped 47, a career high, just a dominant performance.
Yeah, absolutely. Devin Harris with a great performance. You look at some of these guys that are heating up at this point. David Lee, Steve Nash, these guys just playing well. When you look at Devin Harris averaging 27.6 points, 7.4 assists in his past 5 games. We had him pegged as a sleeper coming into this year, and boy, has he lived up to it. You just look at the way that he's playing right now. And then David Lee, 37 points, 21 rebounds against Golden State. Wow, that's fantastic. Chris Duhon also with 22 assists. You look at the Knicks, they're really starting to get going.
They are getting hot. A lot of guys out with injuries. What do we do? Who do we pick up? What fantasy studs do we pick up?
Well, it's a good transition that we go from David Lee to Tim Thomas, because you look at Tim Thomas coming in the trade, along with Coutinho Mobley for Zach Randolph. Thomas is a guy that's sort of been hit or miss, depending on what team he's on. But you look at the way he's performing in 3 games with the Knicks, 14.1 points, 7 rebounds. He's playing well. C.J. Watson sort of hit or miss with Golden State. It's always good to have some of Golden State's players. And then Chris Wilcox, another guy playing for a contract. But the Knicks, their fantasy options are always going to be good. Nate Robinson is now dealing with the groin injury, as you saw there. But I think you look at Thomas, you look at David Lee, Duhon, Wilson Chandler. These guys are going to be good fantasy options. Quentin Richardson. They're not going to win a lot of games, but they're going to help you in fantasy leagues. I actually picked up Tim Thomas in a couple of my leagues. I'm going to start him this week. They have a good matchup, and I think you'll see Tim Thomas continue to play well.
All right, thanks, Jamey. The rest is up to you. Good luck setting your lineup. For Jamey Eisenberg, I'm Lauren Shehadi. See you next time.